There was a man named Daniel who lived in a village. He worked on his farm and made a living. Daniel had a wife named Lisa and one son named John. John was in grade 5 and loved to study. His best friend was O'Neill. They both were good in class. But there was a problem. Their teachers often took naps during lessons. After speaking a little, they started daydreaming. The students didn't know what to do when they needed help. John and O'Neill often looked at each other, unsure who to ask. One morning, John and O'Neill sat at their desks. The bell rang, and the first period began. Ma'am Julie, their class teacher, walked in with her books. She smiled and greeted the class, then took attendance. After that, she gave a short lecture, then wrote a few lines on the board.
Students, now you do the work,
she said kindly. Then she sat on her chair, flipped through her book for a moment, then slowly leaned back and closed her eyes. John stared at his book.
What does this word mean?
He looked at O'Neill. O'Neill sighed.
Don't ask me. Ma'am's off to dreamland.
They both began to write, but they weren't happy with it. That night, after dinner, they were sitting in the lounge. John asked,
Dad, can I go to another school?
Lisa paused and looked at Daniel. Daniel sighed and said,
There's only one school we have here. The city's too far, and we can't send you alone.
John nodded.
Okay, Dad.
One morning, the fourth period began. Ma'am Sarah stepped out, and Sir William, the math teacher, walked in. John and O'Neill quickly took out their notebooks. Sir William explained 2 problems on the board.
Now solve the rest of the exercise on your own,
he said, then sat down. John started writing but paused.
O'Neill, did you get problem 5?
O'Neill shook his head.
No. It's different. I can't solve it.
They looked at Sir William. He was already napping.
Oh no.
John sighed. O'Neill shrugged.
Same old story.
They tried the next questions. From behind, Laura whispered,
O'Neill, I can't solve 5.
O'Neill replied.
We're stuck too.
Soon the period was over. They submitted their notebooks and went out for recess. John and O'Neill opened their lunch boxes. John took a bite.
We should do something.
O'Neill sipped water.
Like what?
John grinned.
Let's tell the principal.
They walked to the office and peeked in.
He's sleeping too.
O'Neill whispered. John still knocked. Sir George woke up.
Yes. Boys?
Both stepped in. John said,
Sir, teachers sleep in class. We can't ask for help.
Sir George nodded.
All right. I will handle it.
John and O'Neill returned back, but deep down, they knew nothing would change. On Sunday, John stared at problem 5.
I'm stuck on this one.
He muttered. Daniel asked.
What's wrong? John?
Just stuck on one question. Dad.
Lisa joined them.
Why not ask your teacher?
John sighed.
You know the problem. Sir William naps after 2 questions.
Daniel said.
I'm sorry, son. I'm just not good at this.
Lisa added.
Sorry, sweetheart. I was never good at math.
John smiled.
It's okay. Mom.
He went to O'Neill's house. O'Neill opened the door.
Hey. What brings you here?
John sat down.
Sir George won't fix this. We need to act.
O'Neill leaned in.
What's the plan?
John grinned.
Listen.
He quickly told O'Neill his plan. O'Neill's eyes sparkled. The next morning, first period started. Ma'am Julie, as usual, was daydreaming after her lecture. Suddenly, John jumped up and ran to her.
Ma'am! Ma'am!
He shouted. O'Neill quickly followed. Ma'am Julie suddenly woke up. Her eyes wide with alarm.
What happened, John?
John yelled.
I saw a lizard on your dress.
The whole class stood up in shock. Ma'am Julie jumped up, looking everywhere.
Where? Where?
O'Neill stepped forward.
It's gone now. Ma'am. Lizards are hiding in dresses these days.
John added.
We should alert.
Ma'am Julie still stood, flustered.
All right. No more talking, class.
But she couldn't sit down. John and O'Neill exchanged sly smiles. Their plan was working. Soon the fourth period began. Sir William explained just one problem, then sat down and slowly closed his eyes. John gave O'Neill a signal. O'Neill quietly punched the balloon he had hidden, pop. Sir William jumped.
Who did that?
Laura leaned forward, eyes wide. But John shook his head slightly. She got the message and stayed quiet. Sir William looked around. No one spoke. From then on, he stayed alert and walked around the class. Students started asking questions, and he began solving them on the board. O'Neill gently patted John's shoulder. John smiled. After break, the 5th period started. John stood up.
Ma'am, can I go to the washroom?
Ma'am Emma nodded. John slipped out with a balloon in his pocket. Near the principal's office. He quickly blew it up, punched it, pop. Then ran back to class. Sir George, who was half asleep, woke up with a start. He put on his glasses and looked around.
Who did that?
He muttered and started checking rooms. Other teachers also stood up, confused by the noise. Soon, Sir George was taking rounds. And teachers stayed busy in their classes. John and O'Neill shared a smile. Their trick worked. No more sleepy teachers ever again. Moral: there's always a way.